Can you relate? Abuse, illness, financial stress, more illness, brick walls, suffering, suffering, and more suffering. Will it ever stop? Should it? Let's rock. Are you walking through a storm that feels like it will never end? Do you wonder if life's storms have stolen the beauty from your life for good? You're in the right place. My name is Heather, and like you, I've been through a storm or two and wondered if life would ever be beautiful again. Here we share warriors' words, stories of discovering beauty after battles, and the worth in your wounds. Pick up your sword or boxing gloves and join the battle. Your words are powerful, my friends. Make them warrior words. I bear with everything for the sake of those who are chosen, so that they too may obtain the salvation that is in Christ Jesus, together with eternal glory. This saying is trustworthy. If we have died with him, we shall also live with him. If we persevere, we shall also reign with him. And that's from 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 10 through 12. In one of my recent BoBB episodes, I asked the question, is there beauty in suffering? And of course, I concluded that there is. Paul writes from prison a lot, and that is true from this letter to Timothy as well. As much as this man suffered, you would think he'd have a right to be bitter, angry, resentful, and even hate-filled. But he writes, even in his suffering, out of love for others, out of a desire to continue to bring souls to Jesus. I've heard comments over the years from those who do not believe in God, equating him, Jesus, the holy angels, all with mystical beings, comparing him to like unicorns and fairies. And the implication is that he is as real as they are. But if God was just a unicorn and his angels were just fairies, then the entire Bible would be just folklore or legend. And then why would someone like Paul stop persecuting the early Christians in the first place? Why would Paul travel all over the world as they knew it? Why would he endure shipwrecks, beatings, and imprisonment for just some fantasy creature in the sky? Most human beings would not do this. But the apostles and the early Christians did. They were willing to be martyred for Jesus and his gospel, his good news of salvation for all. Paul is telling people through his own example that even with his sufferings here on earth, if we persevere in our sufferings for the sake of Jesus, we will reign with him in eternity. And if we die for him, we will live with him. Who does that? Not many people. It is only those who truly have belief and conviction who would be willing to suffer and die for that belief. Now, most of us will not be called upon to suffer in prison for the sake of the gospel. But those times may return. In fact, we recently had people sentenced to prison for their pro-life beliefs and their attempts to rescue babies and change minds about the killing of baby humans. And I think it's in Europe. The same woman has been arrested 3 times for silently praying outside of an abortion clinic. She had no signs. She wasn't talking to anyone. She was just standing on the sidewalk. Now, whether you believe in what they were fighting for or not, these people believe so much in their fight for the unborn that they are willing to go to prison. They are willing to suffer for this cause. And there is beauty in that. What about your suffering? As I said, most of us will not be called to suffer in prison, but I'd be willing to bet that there is suffering in your life. Maybe it's a personal illness, a child who has strayed from the faith, financial hardship, abuse. Now, those are just a few of the ways that we suffer here on earth. There are many, many more causes for suffering in this world. But how can you look at your suffering through a different lens? Now, I'm not talking about a lens that distorts things, but one that allows you to see maybe different angles or different perspectives. Where can you find beauty in your suffering? And how can you use it to help someone else? Perhaps even bringing someone else to Jesus through your example. That's it for now. Remember, armor up, fight the good fight, seek beauty, and make your words warrior words. God bless.